When you think about telling a story, oftentimes you think about a story in words. But what happens when it's a visual story? What are the things that you can do to take it just a little bit further within and really create some oomph to that visual story? I got a couple ideas. Hey, hi, it's Gretchen here with a little bit more in my photography journey and in my storytelling part of how being a photographer. So, there's so much that goes into making a photo, and there's so much that goes making into making a story. And when we really have a photo that we love, if you back it up, there is a good deal of story behind that. Today, I've got a couple of technical things that go with it. And for the technical things, you may not think that that's really part of the storytelling, but it really is. It can add that little extra degree if you just go a little bit deeper. Yeah, I've got some techniques for adding that depth to your photo. And if you think about these things before you're setting up your shot or before you're going to that or with them in mind as you're looking for a shot, you are going to have a story, a photo that has just that extra layer. So when you're looking to add that depth, one of the first things you want to do is think about layering. And in layering, it's how you incorporate multiple elements in the frame to add layers of visual interest, of meaning, all kinds of things. And so think about your photo from front to back. You have the foreground, the middle ground, and the foreground. What is in each of those areas that brings the eye, that makes it worth being part of that picture? In landscape, we oftentimes talk about adding something of visual interest to the foreground that's going to lead you into the picture. In a wildlife shot, it may be just what's the layer that you're adding between the eyes of the animal and the rest of them. Is the rest of them out of focus? Is there some part of where they're sitting, where they're in a tree? Adding something that's in there and paying attention to that makes it part of the story and brings some extra depth. The next thing is light and shadow. How do you use lighting creativity? How do you use your lighting creatively? Or how do you take advantage of the light that you have? Where you have the light fall on a subject and how you enhance that in an image makes a lot of difference. In post-processing, oftentimes we add some glow or light, and if you add it in the wrong spot and it doesn't make sense in the picture, no, you need to pay attention to where the light is coming through from, what's being highlighted. Are you getting the catch light in the animal's eye or in the portrait, whoever? Do you have shadows that add some darkness and mystery or depth to what's far back there and highlights of something that comes forward and oh my gosh, look at that bright thing that's right up there in front. So look at the highlights and the shadows and look at that light and see what it does and use that as an active thing to incorporate. And one last thing is storyboarding. And I have to tell you that this is probably one of my weaknesses. Uh, I tend to go full out and do all the other things and not have planned the story beforehand. But the times I have laid it out in a storyboard and done a sequence of shots to create a visual story, I've been really satisfied. So you plan your shots with a narrative sequence in mind, and so it goes along to tell the whole story. When I went to Africa, it was a wonderful chance to be able to take some video and then get the shot of the animals. In my infrared lion shot that I have, we had followed this lion for a couple of hours, and he actually walked right by my truck, and I have video of the sounds he makes, and he's calling, and then we followed him to where he decided to take a little bit of a rest as the sun set, and he sat and laid down on top of a termite mound, and the way we caught the fading light and the evening, and I got it in infrared, it made so much part of the story. But having that extra video and the shots leading up to that are pretty amazing. There's a shot that I had in the opening sequence. This one. This mother bear with the little cub in the back. This is an example of the layering. What's the depth back there? The light and the shadow that comes in, how the light was coming to her face and sparkling off the water. But also, I had been photographing her for about an hour, and we were watching her with her two cubs, and the one cub there that is kind of prancing around in the back had just gotten swatted and told to stay on the shore because he kept getting in the way of her trying to catch a fish. And she was right in the middle of jumping toward catching some salmon. And the little one behind is like practicing it himself. But that whole part of the story is not told in words. It's told in the layers of this story and in the look on her face. And I had done all the things I've said in these 3 videos about what it is to tell a story. In order to get this shot, I'd had to have a lot of patience. I'd had to watch her a long time. I felt so connected to this mother bear and her 2 cubs. She was only about a very short distance away from me. And to watch her work with her cubs and try to keep them safe and still try to teach them how to be good bears and fish and all of those things that it did. So when it came time to create a photo, I knew I had to have the elements that were important, the cub, her energy, the water, all of that in that. And so those are the kinds of things that you want to try to put together. So hopefully these tips and techniques and ideas might spark something for you when it comes to creating your visual story with your photos. If you only try 1 or 2 of them, that's great. You do you when it comes to it, but the important thing is to try something, to try to add more than just a snapshot, to think about it, to consider the angles, consider the light, consider the shot, consider the area, consider the behavior, make that connection, all of those things that we talked about. Do they come instantly? No. It will take some practice, but practice is progress, and perfection is overrated. Yeah. For that, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this. And let me know in the comments if you have any other ideas or tips or tricks. I would love to hear them. So until next time, everybody, happy visual storytelling and keep looking for the beauty hidden in plain sight. It's all around you. A lot of times it's just under your feet. So grab your camera and go out on a good photo hunt and tell your story.